Chapter 15. The Born Leader. A stranger, unfamiliar with American methods, on going into one of our big establishments might get the impression that the hundreds of employees who are hurrying and scurrying about, doing a great deal of talking and bustling, are responsible for the enormous volume of business being done. But if he should go into a certain private office in the establishment, he would probably find sitting there at his desk a quiet, serene, level-headed man. A man probably of very few words, who dominates and controls all the activities of the hundreds or thousands of employees. He is the head and centre, the moving force behind all the hurry, bustle, and show. The man who aspires to leadership must be an organizer. He must not only read men like an open book, but also judge accurately what to do with them, how to weigh, measure, and place them. It seems as natural and as easy for some people to lead, to command, and to control others as to breathe. There is something in their very personalities that dominate others. They are born leaders. They do not need to exercise great willpower. They conquer by the very force of their presence, their character, as Hercules conquered those who looked upon his gigantic, powerful figure. No matter what situation they are in, they dominate. Put a lot of strange cattle together, and they will very quickly decide which is to lead the herd. They will lock horns for a while and test their strength, but when the leader has once asserted himself, by common consent of the rest, who do not question it after the first test, he is master. On every board of directors or trustees in every organization of men, there is always one who easily overtops the others. There is always one man who, by tacit consent of all the rest, is recognized as spokesman, as leader. The leader is always characterized by positive qualities. He rules by his vigorous affirmatives. There is nothing negative or minus about him. The positive man, the natural leader, is always assertive, while the negative man shrinks, effaces himself, waits for someone else to take the initiative. A natural leader does not need to urge those under him. They will follow wherever he goes. A good chess player must be able to see a dozen moves ahead. He must keep constantly in mind the unexpected so that he may meet every move of his opponent. Looking ahead is characteristic of the leader. It is the man who can see far into the future that is wanted everywhere. The man who can provide for the unexpected, for the emergency, is the safe man. On the other hand, there is such a thing as knowing so much and seeing so much that it makes one timid about undertaking the lead. Someone says, it is generally the man who does not know any better who does the things that cannot be done. You see, the blamed fool does not know that it cannot be done, so he goes ahead and does it. Scholarship often kills initiative. Scholars are proverbially timid when it comes to great undertakings. The man who knows little outside of the particular thing he undertakes frequently has courage because he does not see the risks, the possible dangers of failure or of disaster as clearly as a more intelligent, better educated man sees them. His range of vision is narrow. He just sees the step he is taking, and so he plunges in with all his energy and enthusiasm. Everywhere there are men who murder the English language every time they open their mouths, men who know almost nothing of books or schools, who are doing things that the college-bred man shrinks from attempting. Whether the leader be educated or uneducated, he is always able to draw the line between theoretical knowledge and practical ability. He knows that ability that cannot be practically applied is useless as so far as his work is concerned. There were many men under General Grant who were better educated, more cultivated, more widely read than he, but who could not transmute their knowledge into power. On the other hand, what Grant knew he could turn to practical use. You cannot be a general and a private at the same time. You must either lead or follow. You must either make the program or help carry it out. You cannot do both if you expect to do anything big. The success of the great general depends largely upon his ability to surround himself with a staff of officers who can carry out his orders, execute his plans. Grant had many officers who could work harder than he, but he could out-general them all. A leader must be a man of prompt decision. If he vacillates, if he never quite knows how to step without consulting someone else, his followers, his employees, will soon lose respect for him. You cannot do the biggest things in this world unless you can handle men, and you cannot handle men if you are not in sympathy with them. The greatest leaders are those who combine executive ability with kindness and consideration. Employees will not only follow such a leader, but will also follow him enthusiastically, work for him nights and holidays, do anything to help him along. But if they see mud at the bottom of his eyes, if he lacks the qualities of manhood, if they see nothing in him to admire and respect, they will follow, if they follow at all, as the slave follows his master. There is no system, there are no rules of business by which a man can force people to be loyal to him and enthusiastic for his welfare. There must be qualities in himself which will call out their voluntary confidence and respect. They must see that he is businesslike, that he has executive ability, that he has the qualities of leadership. Then they will follow with zeal and loyalty. If you are a leader, an employer in any line, it is idle to expect that you can call out of your employees qualities which are vastly superior to those you possess yourself. The very idea of leadership is superiority, force of character, executive push, the ability to plan and put an undertaking through to a finish. If you are afraid of making enemies, do not try to lead. For the moment you step out of the crowd and show originality, individuality, you will be criticized, condemned, caricatured. It is human nature to throw stones at the head lifted above the crowd. No great leader ever yet escaped the jealousy and envy of those who could not keep up with him or do what he did. A leader must be positive, aggressive. He must have an iron will, an inflexible purpose, and boldness bordering on audacity. He must be able to defy criticism without being insensible or indifferent to it. Some of our great leaders have been extremely sensitive in this respect. Criticism was very painful to them, yet they had the qualities of leadership which urged them on in spite of the pain caused by harsh and unjust criticisms. Many worthy young men have retired from the race for leadership because of the sting inflicted by the malice and envy of their fellows. They did not think the honey worth the sting. Large leadership today calls for great breadth of view, for the same qualities which made the leader in the past, but much enlarged and developed to meet the needs of our time. The vast combinations, the enormous interests involved in our large concerns today require colossal leadership. Organization is the one overtowering necessity of the times. It comes logically of the vast interest put into one business through incorporated capital. There never was such a demand for leaders, men who can do things, as there is today. One great flaw in the education of the young is its failure to develop individuality. Boys and girls with the most diverse tastes and talents are put through the same curriculum. The dull boy and the bright boy, the dreamy book lover and the matter-of-fact realist, the active, inventive spirit, and the one whose soul is attuned to hidden music, the youth with the brain of a financier and the one who delights in mimic warfare and strategic games, all are put into the same mold and subjected to the same processes. The result is inevitable. 9/10 of the children educated in this machine-like fashion are copies of one another and reproductions of the same pattern. Our system of education tends to destroy individuality, except in cases where special talents and characteristics are so marked that they cannot be dulled or blunted by any amount of conventional training. The collective method of education destroys individuality, nips originality in the bud, and tends to make the child a weakling or an imitator instead of an original, forceful, distinct entity. A great many people remain trailers all their lives, followers of others, echoes instead of realities, because their distinctive qualities, their original powers, were not developed, called out, or encouraged in youth. What a sorry sight is a man with great possibilities of leadership, following somebody else all his life, seeking the advice of others when he is amply able to give it, and never daring to venture on his own judgment, because he has always leaned upon others or depended upon someone else to lead the way. His common sense and power of independent decision, his strongest inherent qualities, lie dormant within him. He's doing the work of a pygmy when he has the undeveloped capabilities of a giant, all because of a lack of proper individual training. True education, the education for which the world is ripe, is unfoldment, calling out the germs of possibilities, developing original force, fostering self-reliance, encouraging and stimulating initiative power and executive ability, cultivating all the faculties and exercising, strengthening and buttressing them. We want leaders and originators more than we want followers or imitators. We have enough and to spare of those who are willing to lean on others. We want our young people to depend on themselves. We want them to be so educated that their qualities of leadership, their originality, and their individuality will be emphasized and strengthened instead of obliterated. Self-assertion, the spirit of independence, the courage, the manhood which respects its own powers and is determined to rely upon them, and belief in oneself, the qualities which characterize a leader, can be cultivated by every human being. But if these qualities are not drawn out in youth, they may forever lay dormant in the soul. Scores of college graduates who have won their diplomas legitimately and honorably fail hopelessly when they attempt to grapple with the practical side of life. They have no qualities of leadership, no independence of thought, and no self-reliance. They are stuffed with facts and theories, but their executive faculties, their powers of combination and assimilation, the qualities which grasp and hold and manipulate, all lie dormant within them. They were not trained in boyhood to depend upon their own judgment. Hence it is weak, hesitating, and uncertain. Their common sense has never been put to the test. They do not know how to be aggressive or how to marshal their facts and theories and reduce them to working proportions. Whatever you learn in school or college, remember that it is the executive talent, the ability to do things, the power of achievement that counts. It is not the great scholar who is brimful of facts and theories, but the practical man who will do it, who deals with conditions, not theories, and who can bring about results that is in demand everywhere. Education is not a stuffing of the memory with facts and theories until it becomes like an unwieldy encyclopedia or dictionary that it cannot be handled with ease. A really educated man is not loaded down with textbook information that he cannot put into practice. He knows how to utilize every bit of his knowledge. His education gives him executive power and makes him master of himself, with ability to manipulate perfectly all the powers that God has planted in his soul. The man who is rightly educated will never be a leaner, imitator, or follower. He may not necessarily be a great leader, but he will not seek his opinions from others. He will trust his own judgment, will pilot his own bark, no matter how rough or troubled the waters, will be himself, and will live his own life, whatever his lot may be cast.